I'm Marni Hughes, and this is Missing. Thank you for joining us. Each week, we cover a missing person case that isn't getting much attention. Every missing person matters, no matter their race, background, or circumstances. By highlighting these cases and sharing their stories, we believe every case is solvable. And together, we can bring answers to the family and friends of the missing. We are learning chilling new details in this week's featured missing case, the disappearance of Ronald Dumas Jr., a real estate agent and father from Huntsville, Alabama. An active manhunt is underway for several suspects police believe are connected to Ronnie's case. Ronnie was last seen in December 2024. His disappearance now considered a kidnapping and allegations of torture.
It was crazy. You know, the evil that's in the hearts and minds of men is crazy because, you know, if you knew Ronnie, you wouldn't want to do something like that to him.
Coming up, you are going to hear from those closest to Ronnie, the arrests so far in the case, and the new clues investigators have uncovered as they search for him and try to track down anyone involved. First, though, we have some updates on several missing cases that we are following. The body of Grant Gardner has been recovered in the mountains of Wyoming. The Minnesota man had set out on a 3-day hike before he vanished. A professional climbing team found a backpack descending the same peak Gardner had been on. Gardner had been in touch with his wife after reaching the summit, but had indicated the climb was taxing more so than expected and that he was tired. The search continues in Nebraska for this woman, Jerica Hamry. The mother of 3 disappeared in July of 2024. She is from Lincoln, Nebraska. Police searched property in the Overton area weeks after she went missing, but there have been no arrests. Investigators need tips and say the case is still active. Evidence suggests that Jerica could have been in the Arapahoe, Holdridge, Overton, or Lexington, Nebraska areas. Police are asking anyone who hikes or spends time outdoors in those areas to keep an eye out for anything unusual and report it. Still no sign of Emilio Ganem, who disappeared in May of 2023, but new this week in his case, police arrested 2 people who had a religious group Emilio was connected to. It's called the His Way Spirit-Led Assemblies. Daryl Music was arrested on illegal weapons charges. Shelley Bailey Martin was also arrested but has since been released. No word on how the 2 may be linked to Emilio's disappearance. Emilio is from Nashville, but he was in Southern California in the Redlands area to build a new pest control business. His rental truck was discovered earlier this year. Police say it contained evidence of a possible homicide. Another member of that same religious group was also reported missing in 2019. That man is Ruben Moreno. He is still missing. Emilio's family is desperate to know what happened to him.
My biggest fear is that he's dead. Right. I mean, who just disappears out of thin air? And he was really happy. He was ready to start his new life, turn over a new leaf.
If you have any information in the search for Emilio, you can contact the Redlands Police Department. Now to this week's featured case. Ronald Dumas Jr. is a father, a realtor, and a friend who was last seen on a Sunday night this past December. His disappearance is now being treated as a kidnapping as the details about what might have happened to him become increasingly horrifying to those who love him most.
Hey everyone, my name is Ronald Dumas. I'm a real estate agent.
An award-winning realtor.
You want to know how you can get a 5.5% interest rate?
A full-time chemist. But Ronald Dumas' true strength, the heavy lifting of fatherhood.
Well,
he is a great father.
Talea Berryhill and Ronald Dumas were once a couple and share 2 young girls.
oh, you want to lay back down?
Every Friday, he grabbed the kids from school or picked them all up so they would be together for the weekend.
Ronald has an older son, the adults and children all close. A true blended family.
Family was important to him. We would be over here, all of us, me, Shakira, all the kids, at the house, watching movies, family night.
Berryhill says it was December of 2024 when she was a little late picking up the girls.
I didn't apologize when I came back, which is something I would have done, but I didn't because he irritated me back. Because he was already irritated. So we irritated one another. And we were just short in our words, but we spoke. And I was like, all right, bye, you have a good day. He was like, all right, he kissed the kids, everybody left.
We actually had got into an argument.
Friends since before college, Byron Pillow reports a little friction that same weekend. Ronnie, saving to buy a house, was staying with Byron. Their spat over as quickly as it started.
He had said, you know, oh, my bad, I forgot. All right, it's cool, man. He was normal. He said, you know, I'm finna go out and give me something to eat, a little drink or something, come back, and he was gonna go relax like normal.
What happened next wasn't normal. At this Huntsville liquor store, Ronnie is seen on surveillance video with two women unknown to all his friends. The transaction is relaxed. Ronnie pays for the women's purchases, and they all leave. He takes a call and plans to meet a friend across the street at a restaurant arcade. He never shows.
I fell asleep on my couch, so I knew that Ronnie didn't come back home because I would have just heard the key. I'd have woke up, and that's when I had called and asked, hey, anybody heard from Ronnie?
When we all realized at one time that we hadn't spoken to him, we immediately knew something was wrong.
Dumas' car found more than 100 miles away, abandoned, blocking a travel lane of I-40 west of Nashville, Tennessee. The family on the scene for their own search as soon as they heard.
The next thing we knew, his car was found in Tennessee.
Ronnie's family's private eye focusing in on that surveillance video, tracking those women, suspecting they had answers.
I was going to start hitting some addresses up in Tennessee, the Jackson and Memphis area, and even North Mississippi. But I was planning on going the next morning, and that night I was still looking into that girl, and I found her obituary.
Kalisha McKinney, dead, identified by police as one of the two women with Dumas at the liquor store that night. In a case now classified as a kidnapping, detectives honing in on one of those women and 4 other people. The criminal case revealing disturbing state evidence in open court.
Kiera was texting with Quintarius, and Quintarius told her that they had a guy that they had their hands on and that he had some money in the bank. Kiera, according to the state, was texting him basically ways to torture Ronnie.
You keep yourself going, you think happy thoughts.
Ronnie's dad thinks with suspects behind bars, the family might get their answers.
Everything. What happened to him? When did it happen to him? Who did it? What transpired? Where is he? Okay, yeah.
The mothers of Ronnie's children in pain themselves over talk of torture.
I'm devastated and I'm shocked with some of the details that we found out.
We miss him.
Evil is crazy. You know, the evil that's in the hearts and minds of men is crazy because, you know, if you knew Ronnie, you wouldn't want to do something like that to him.
Huntsville police had one of their suspects extradited back to Alabama. Another is behind bars in Tennessee. The police telling NewsNation that the public is urged still to come forward with any details about the whereabouts of the 3 who are still on the run. Joining us now is Tory Styles, representative for the family. Troy, thank you so much for being here. You're also part of Blunt Force Media Group. How did you get involved in this case? What attracted you to Ronnie's disappearance and this mystery?
Well, Marni, we help represent families who find themselves spotlights of crime stories. We were tagged in about a week before Christmas in this story by the family and others who had noticed the story, and they were just upset that they weren't able to get the media to cover it. And that's partly because law enforcement had not taken the case seriously in the beginning, and no media could actually authenticate the case. So we stepped in just to try to facilitate, getting the case covered in the local legacy market in Huntsville, and also just, holding the hand of the family as they walk through, a missing person case and the complexities of this one.
The case has not had national media coverage until, I understand it, we are doing the story. But how has local coverage, Troy, helped with the investigation, with uncovering new clues, led to new arrests?
So the local media market in Huntsville has been amazing. They have really followed this story from December on, and the family has a close relationship with them, and that's been very helpful. But our suspects are not centered in Huntsville. As we know, Ronnie's vehicle was found headed towards Memphis, and authorities uncovered, details that lead us to believe that Ronnie was abducted and taken to the area of Memphis. And there's several hundred miles of, interstate and just desolate territory between here and there. So really pushing the story in the national media market is something that we're very thankful for NewsNation for doing and your show, because we're really looking for information about our suspects and who may know what they were doing in the days immediately after Ronnie's disappearance. We've set up a tips line and a hotline, and we're also offering a $10,000 reward in this case for information leading to Ronnie's whereabouts.
Right, to incentivize someone to come forward. Troy, in addition to that, I understand there are some billboards in the case. Why is that crucial, and where might people be seeing those?
Yeah, the billboards are lit up all over Memphis and northern Mississippi. So those are active now. They've been active over the last 30 days. Not everybody watches the news, so we're hoping that people can see those and that it will also generate leads and tips to help investigators narrow down what may have happened to Ronnie and where he may be right now.
We also detailed some of the arrests. There are several people still on the run. What have their court appearances provided in terms of information and background and evidence to help point investigators in the right direction as to what happened?
So Quintarius White is currently being held in Memphis. He has a court hearing coming up. The Memphis court system, like any other court system, is backed up and things get moved and pushed around. So we're hoping that he's extradited back to Huntsville soon. And then Kiara Clark was actually extradited to Huntsville and had an Anaya's Law hearing, which means that she cannot be released on a bond and she will be held in Huntsville. And right now, that's all we have. Everybody else is at large, and we're not sure if they're on the run, if they're safe, or even if they're still alive.
And you're seeing the suspects on your screen right now, 5 named, only 2 in custody. What was the connection, if any, Troy, between the suspects and Ronnie?
The exact connection hasn't been revealed to us yet. We do know that they targeted Ronnie because, Ronnie's very well dressed and he's very well known in the community of Huntsville. So, I believe that put him in a position to be targeted by them. They are known for human trafficking, robbery. They have long, extensive criminal histories. And actually the case that Quintarius is being held on in Memphis right now relates to a previous case of human trafficking where he was charged and given a $5,000 bond. So, if he had been given a higher bond, he wouldn't have been able to kidnap Ronnie. So, we know that they have extensive criminal histories and, that goes far back.
We mentioned no sign of Ronnie, but his car did show up, and his cell phone pings at a different location than the car's recovery site. What details do you have on that, and any other bank or credit card information?
So we aren't aware of any activity at all. Ronnie's vehicle was found, so he was kidnapped on the 15th, the night of the 15th. His vehicle was found on the 16th. His family filed a missing persons report on the 17th. And then it was 47 days later when law enforcement finally came out and said he was abducted. In the 47 days lingering there, they just said that Ronnie had escaped his life and was just living a new life. So they kind of got a late start. In their investigation, they did uncover that the phone had pinged a couple times, headed towards Memphis. And then after that, there's been absolutely no activity whatsoever from Ronnie.
Surveillance video is critical in these cases. Troy, we have that one video of the 2 women inside the gas station with him. They were reportedly sex workers. Is there any other video evidence that has come to light about his whereabouts in those final hours?
No, that's all that we have. We located that ourselves about 47 days later, and looked into the connection. There was a transaction made to Kalisha McKinney, I believe, for $200. But we're not sure that, we're not certain that Ronnie was engaged in sex work, or had hired them as workers. We just aren't exactly sure how the original connection came to be, if they targeted him outside the liquor store or if he had gone out that night to a local bar or something and ran into them there. People that spoke to Ronnie in this time mentioned that they heard him kind of riding around in the vehicle. They could hear voices in the background. As you mentioned before, he had called his friend Chris, who works just directly across the street from the liquor store, and Ronnie had plans of going over there to visit with Chris, and then he just never made it.
Wow. There's a lot of troubling and chilling evidence so far in this case. What else do you want people to know about Ronnie's disappearance and the encouragement of anyone who knows anything, even if they think it's small, to come forward?
Well, I would just say, we, in missing persons cases, we're asking total strangers to find people that they don't know. So if you feel like somebody is, outside of their normal routine, it could be time to file a missing persons report. And you have to stay consistent and persistent in your own investigation. I think that's helped us tremendously here. And I would encourage anyone who knows anything at all, they can remain anonymous. They can call our tips line at 256-254-4240, or they can go to www.crimedesk.tips and file the information there anonymously or with their information. And again, we do have that $10,000 reward for anybody who has information that leads us to Ronnie's whereabouts.
And Troy, as I mentioned at the beginning of our show, that every case is solvable, and at the center of each of our missing persons cases is a person that is loved, that is missed. What have you learned about Ronnie as you have worked with his family, about what makes him special, what they cherish and miss most?
It's interesting, Marni. When I step into these cases, the only thing that's not there is the missing person. I've met all of Ronnie's friends, his family. I've spent time with his children. He was an extraordinary father. He's mostly known on the billboards for being a realtor. But Ronnie is an extraordinary father. He is an extraordinary family man. That's what originally set, the motion in this case, is him being a missing person. Human trafficking is something that we're seeing more and more of. I think news does not feel comfortable talking about it. The demographics don't like necessarily hearing about it, but these cases are happening at our in our cities, and they can happen to anyone. And we should all be, educated and aware of our surroundings and what can happen. Human trafficking comes in many, many forms. And so, I hope people realize that it's very real, and it can't happen to you until it does.
Well, I thank you, Troy, and your team for helping us shine a light on Ronnie's disappearance and getting the word out on a broader scale, more nationally, so that people can come forward and his family can get the answers they deserve. Tory Styles with Blunt Force Media Group, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just to reiterate, if you have any information that can help in Ronnie's disappearance, the tip line again on your screen, 256-254-4240, or contact the Huntsville Police Department. That number also there for you. If you have a missing persons case you think we should investigate, visit our missing page on newsnationnow.com. Many of the cases we cover come from you. You can also sign up for our weekly missing newsletter for the latest missing cases we are actively working on. Our thoughts are with Ronnie's family as they continue to search for answers, and we are so honored to partner with them. I'm Marni Hughes in Chicago. As always, thank you for joining us. I'll see you back here next week for our latest missing case.